Assalamu alaikum, it's Sista Samilah. Let's gather in for a real, unfiltered conversation because sometimes love means giving the truth, even when it stings a little. Today, I want to address my immigrant brothers and sisters who now call America home. Many of you arrived here with hopes, dreams, and the drive to make a better life. And I want you to know nobody with sense is against that dream. But we need to talk about humility, gratitude, and spiritual clarity, because too often I see a spirit of pride and comparison that, if left unchecked, will bring hardship, not blessings. Let's keep it 100. This land you now find opportunity in, the freedoms you access, the rights you enjoy, these things were not handed out freely. They were bought with centuries of struggle, sacrifice, and relentless faith from foundational Black Americans. FBA ancestors were dragged here in chains, survived generations of terror, and faced violence and systemic oppression so extreme many didn't live to see freedom. Yet they fought. They changed laws. They demanded dignity. Every open door you see is a door that was battered down by those who came before you. Family, this is not bitterness. This is historical fact. When you come to a new land, it's only right to learn the story of that land. When you walk into a house, you don't criticize the carpet before you thank the builders. So when some immigrants land in America and immediately start boasting about their success, we bought a house, we built a business, we send money home, we do better than the people who were born here. That's not just arrogance, that's spiritual blindness. The Quran teaches, and Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful, in Quran 4:36. Humility is a command, not a suggestion. Before you judge FBAs, ask yourself what pain, what price, what policy had to be broken for you to even get your visa, your job, or your education. It's not just a system you benefited from, it's a path cleared by blood, sweat, and faith. And it's a blessing you should meet with gratitude, not comparison. Let's get even more real. If your homeland was safe, stable, and thriving, you wouldn't have had to leave. No one uproots themselves and starts over on another continent unless there's a real need. So don't land here and act as if FBAs are beneath you or somehow lacking. If you had to flee, that's a story of struggle too. A story that should make you more compassionate, more humble, more willing to see your shared humanity. Instead, too many come in with the mindset, we made it, why can't they? That's a dangerous, disrespectful spirit. It ignores the centuries of systemic violence, broken families, and unhealed trauma that FBAs endured. You can't compare someone's starting point when your own journey began at a different mile marker. There's also a spiritual lesson in recognizing whose land you're walking on. The Quran says, "O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you." Quran 49:13. It's not wealth, not immigration status, not educational attainment that sets one above the other. It's righteousness, humility, and the willingness to learn from the struggle of others. If you find yourself saying, immigrants work harder, we value education more, we stick together better, pause and check your spirit. Are you grateful for the opportunity FBAs created for you, or are you letting arrogance poison your heart? The opportunity to do better isn't proof of superiority. It's proof that someone suffered so you could run a race they were forced to crawl. So my message to every immigrant who ever found themselves judging, mocking, or measuring FBAs by material success: stop. Replace pride with gratitude. Replace arrogance with humility. Replace competition with solidarity. Because spiritual law is undefeated, pride comes before a fall, and humility is always the path to honor in Allah's eyes. Now let's dig deeper into the roots of pride and the weight of history, because the lesson for all of us, immigrants and FBAs alike, is that humility is not just a virtue, it's a survival strategy. Every time arrogance rises, Allah reminds us of our place. That's not just scripture, that's life experience. Let's take a moment to understand how we got here. For over 4 centuries, FBAs bore the brunt of America's original sins: chattel slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, and state-sanctioned violence. The legacy of these atrocities isn't just something in history books. It's woven into the fabric of every policy, every city, every school district, every job market. For generations, FBAs have been forced to create their own safety nets, build their own institutions, and demand their own humanity in a nation that profited from their pain. And it was the relentless activism, prayers, and organizing of FBAs that cracked the doors open, not just for their own children, but for anyone who would come after. So when immigrants arrive and say, "We are successful, why aren't you?" they are missing the point. The doors were not open for everyone. They were forced open by people who risked everything. Many of the opportunities that exist now were denied to FBAs until just decades ago. The Voting Rights Act, affirmative action, anti-discrimination laws, these did not fall from the sky. They were won by blood and tears, not by chance. The Quran warns us, "Do not walk upon the earth with arrogance. Indeed, you will never tear the earth apart, and you will never reach the mountains in height." Quran 17:37. In other words, no one is so grand that their feet don't touch the same soil, or their soul doesn't answer to the same creator. When you look down on others, especially those who paved your way, you not only offend them, you dishonor Allah's mercy. Let's talk about the dangers of comparison. The system in America thrives on pitting people of color against one another, fueling stereotypes and boosting narratives that say, "Look how well this group is doing, why can't that group catch up?" But that ignores the ways the game is rigged. Many immigrants benefit from a model minority myth, where their story is weaponized to shame FBAs for not overcoming obstacles that are still in place today. It's a distraction from the real enemy, the system that created these inequalities to begin with. So how do we break the cycle? The first step is humility. When immigrants walk with gratitude, they become allies, not antagonists. When you see an FBA family struggling, your first thought should not be, "What's wrong with them?" but "How can I learn from their endurance? How can I contribute to their healing?" If you don't, you miss the entire spiritual lesson of being brought to a new land. Let me be clear. There is no shame in leaving home to find a better life. There is no shame in surviving, in thriving, in providing for your family. But there is deep spiritual danger in forgetting the shoulders you stand on. The Quran says, "And lower your wing to the believers who follow you." Quran 26:215. That means treat with gentleness and respect those who made your journey possible. Real gratitude is shown in actions, not just words. So to every immigrant community, hear me. Your success in America is not just a personal achievement. It is the fruit of collective sacrifice. Honor that sacrifice. Give back. Build bridges, not walls. And always remember that spiritual elevation comes to those who humble themselves before Allah and before the people who carried burdens so you could carry hope. And to my FBA family, don't let anyone's pride or ignorance rob you of your dignity. The struggle was not in vain. Stand tall, teach your children the truth, and model the kind of self-respect and hospitality that forces the world to see your value. Humility and gratitude are more than polite gestures. They are the currency of real community and lasting blessings. The moment we embrace these truths, we shut the door on the enemy's plan to divide and conquer. That's how we move forward together. Let's get even more specific about what pride leads to, because when you walk in arrogance, life will always bring a lesson. Many immigrants who first came to America may have been tempted to distance themselves from FBAs, eager to assimilate, eager to be seen as the good minority, eager to prove to the system they were different. Sometimes that meant adopting the worst attitudes of the oppressor, looking down on FBA culture, joining in disrespect, or dismissing our history as excuses. But the Quran says, and be not arrogant with pride toward Allah. Verily, you cannot rend the earth, nor can you attain to the mountains in height. Quran 17:37. The lesson is timeless. No matter how high you climb, you are never beyond Allah's correction. Now, we see what happens when that pride is left unchecked. Look at the current climate in America. ICE raids, family separations, shifting immigration laws. Doors that were once open are now closing. Many immigrants, once confident that their hard work and assimilation would shield them from the pain FBAs endured, now realize that the system doesn't discriminate in its cruelty. It's humbling to learn, sometimes too late, that you can't outwork injustice, you can't blend in your way out of oppression, and you can't build walls high enough to escape the lessons of history. Sisters and brothers, humility would have been the better path from the start. If instead of looking down on FBAs, more immigrants had sought solidarity, shown respect, and listened to the stories of struggle, there would be more unity now when the storm comes. Instead, some stood with the system, hoping proximity to whiteness or political power would protect them. But now, with the pressure on, they're discovering what FBAs have always known. When trouble comes, you need community. You need people who understand what it means to fight, to be loyal, and to stand in faith. This is not about wishing hardship on anyone. It's about telling the truth. When arrogance rules, lessons are harder and more painful. The system that uses immigrants to shame FBAs will turn and discard those same immigrants when it suits their agenda. That's why the Quran says, "So do not claim yourselves to be pure. He is most knowing of who fears him." Quran 53:32. Arrogance blinds us to the truth. Humility opens the doors to mercy, wisdom, and real alliances. Let's be practical. ICE and immigration crackdowns are teaching a harsh lesson in humility. Some who look down on FBA struggle now look to those same communities for advice, solidarity, and support. This didn't have to happen. Imagine what could have been built if unity had come before adversity. Imagine the strength of a community where new arrivals listened, learned, and partnered with FBAs instead of competing or condemning. So, my call to every immigrant feeling the pressure now: let go of pride before life humbles you. Admit that FBAs have wisdom about surviving systems of oppression, about resilience, about holding on to dignity in the face of adversity. Reach out for genuine partnership, not just when you're in trouble, but always. And for FBAs, continue to model grace and wisdom. Stand strong in your truth, but also be open to those who finally understand the price you've paid. Teach, lead, and show the world that unity under Allah is the only way forward. Humility isn't just about saying thank you. It's about living in gratitude, respecting those who paved the way, and using your blessings to uplift others. Let's learn from the mistakes of pride before the lesson becomes even harder. Let's close this lesson on the foundation Allah loves most: humility, gratitude, and unity in purpose. Because the blessing of being in America, of having opportunity, safety, and freedom is not just a chance for individual success, it's a test of character for everyone who arrives here, especially those who came after centuries of FBA struggle. The Quran reminds us, the servants of the most merciful are those who walk upon the earth humbly, and when the ignorant address them harshly, they say words of peace. Quran 25:63. That's a standard for all believers. Whether you are FBA, newly arrived, or a second-generation American, Allah expects humility to guide every step, every word, every interaction. Here's what walking in humility and gratitude looks like in practice. Immigrants, before boasting about your wins, acknowledge the foundation FBAs laid for you. Speak the truth in public and private. Let your family and children know the story of those who struggled so you could thrive. Instead of comparing or competing, build genuine relationships. Seek out FBA mentors, business partners, friends, and faith community. Ask, How can I give back? How can I honor the struggle that made my journey possible? When you see disrespect or erasure of FBA contributions, speak up. Correct misinformation with the same energy you use to celebrate your own achievements. Use your resources to uplift not just your own, but those whose sacrifices broke the barriers you now walk through. For my FBA family, continue teaching your children their worth, their history, and the power of dignity. Welcome those who come in humility, but hold every newcomer accountable for learning the truth and respecting the legacy. Share your wisdom with patience, knowing that sometimes life teaches what words cannot. But never lower your standard or allow the world to rewrite your story. This unity is not just a hope, it's a necessity. The system will always try to pit the successful immigrant against the struggling FBA as if we are natural enemies. That's a lie. Allah's plan is unity through truth and justice, not division through pride and propaganda. Let's be real. America is at a crossroads. More and more immigrants are seeing that ICE, policy shifts, and changing public sentiment can make anyone vulnerable overnight. There's no permanent pass in this country, only temporary privilege. And the only protection that lasts is the protection of Allah and the solidarity of community. The Quran says, and cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression. Quran 5:2. Real progress is built on cooperation. Immigrants and FBAs working side by side, lifting each other up, calling each other to higher purpose. Let gratitude replace arrogance, and let humility be the language we all speak. Let's make this practical for every family. Invite each other to your mosques, your churches, your business meetings, break bread together, celebrate each other's holidays and victories. Teach your children not just to tolerate, but to honor the struggles and achievements of all Black people in this country. If you are blessed to have made it, open the door wider for those behind you. And to every immigrant who's heard this message, know that a lesson in humility is a hard one, but it's never too late to choose a new path. If you find yourself humbled by life, use that experience to grow closer to Allah, to your FBA neighbors, and to the truth that success is never just yours alone. It is a shared legacy. The future can be bright, but only if we choose the road of humility, gratitude, and unity. Arrogance destroys, but gratitude builds. Humility heals what pride breaks. Under Allah, all are equal, and only together can we protect what our ancestors fought so hard to build. So let's walk with soft hearts, open hands, and clear eyes. Let every step forward be a step toward healing and true unity. That's the lesson for every immigrant, every FBA, and every soul seeking Allah's favor in this land. May we all have the wisdom to learn it now before life teaches it the hard way.